So this is one of the most beautiful locations I could find on the island for making this video. Because I think this is one of the special things about Reforger is that it creates that realistic, almost stereotypical Cold War Central European landscape. And what makes it even more beautiful is that you can drive realistic Cold War vehicles in it. So in this video I'd like to show you how to drive the BTR-70. So to get into the vehicle you have to use the door between the wheels, and there's one on each side of the vehicle. Okay, so on the dashboard there's two important gauges. The one on the right, that's kilometers per hour. And on the left you have a gauge that says in Russian Cyrillic letters top level, which I think can be translated to fuel. That's your fuel gauge. Then we got the engine start switch, let's hold that. So now in order to see out of the vehicle, there's two ways. You can use the periscope mirrors. How are they currently don't work in the game? How I think eventually they're going to work, because Arma 3 had a DLC with tanks where that was a feature. So the only way to see out of the vehicle, you have to open the hatch. You open the hatch like that. You see that dirt? That's a glass plane that's armored, and it can take a few hits before it shatters. I'm going to switch to nighttime so you can see the lighting. Because one of the most beautiful things in this game is the nighttime lighting. Like, it's not flashy, it's just realistic. That's so beautiful about it. So first you can turn on the dashboard light. And then you can turn on the lights and high beam. See how that really replicates driving in the night through a forest. That's exactly how it should look like that. Okay, let's turn it back off. So driving is pretty straightforward. Disengage the handbrake and start driving. Now what's interesting about the BTR, it weighs, I think, 10.8 tons. I think it's the heaviest vehicle currently in the game. However, it can reach approximately the same top speeds as any other vehicle in the game, and is extremely mobile on off-road conditions. And even on road conditions, it's relatively faster way it accelerates, at least for its weight. And of course you can hold shift to accelerate faster. And I think it's just really fun to drive. You can really feel the masses being accelerated when you're driving. Okay, now let's check out off-road capabilities. Now for this I'm going to switch to external view so you can see it. Now it's an extremely mobile vehicle on off-road conditions, and it has a really good suspension. However, it doesn't mean that you should drive at full speed through off-road conditions. You still have to drive carefully to not damage it. So let's go to the beach with a lot of rocks. And what I'd like to do to accelerate slower, so you don't have to go stop and go that much, I just switch to the second or third gear, then you have a much slower acceleration. See how beautifully the suspension works. Now the main tactical purpose of that is that you can go to place, and the vehicle is also amphibious, which means you can just drive into the water and swim. When swimming in the water, the speed is limited to, I think, 10 kilometers per hour, which may appear not that fast, but for a 10-ton vehicle, that's pretty fast. And you can also switch into any gear you want, even neutral, and drive like that. And in real life, the tactical purpose for that would be probably to cross rivers and fords. However, in this game, or any Arma game, there are never any rivers in the maps. So the main purpose would be, for example, to cross from Kamarak to the lighthouse over here. And that's distance here is about 400 meters. It would take you about 4 minutes to get there. Now for this next demonstration, I'd like to show you what to do when your engine catches fire. Okay, the first thing you want to do is get out of the vehicle as fast as you can. Then equip a wrench, and there's one wrench in the vehicle. Take it. Equip it. Then you have to get close to that hatch and keep as much distance as you can to the burning vehicle and extinguish the fire. Now in this part of the video I'd like to show you how to work together with your gunner. Because currently the commander seat in this game isn't really functional for the BTR. So you will likely also be not just the driver, but the commander for your gunner. And your main job as a driver or commander is to get the BTR into position where you can shoot at enemies. And preferably you should do that from a distance for at least 400 meters and make sure that the vehicle front faces the enemy. And once you get into shooting position, then you need to have patience. That means that you keep the vehicle absolutely still until your gunner tells you to move it or do something with it. And you have to have the patience for that, because I noticed that with a lot of new players, when they're driving a BTR, they get bored, and every few seconds they want to drive around a bit, readjust the position. And that's extremely irritating for the gunner, because the gun isn't stabilized. So every small movement you make will throw off the aim of the gunner. And I think that's the advantage that Reforger has over games like Squad. In this game, the interior is fully modeled, so you can do other things in or around the vehicle. In Squad, you're basically stuck in a black box where you can move the camera just a tiny bit like that. So that's the most important thing. Have patience and just remain still, even if it takes 5 to 10 minutes in that position. And other things you can do in the meantime is be the ghetto commander until the developers implement the commander optics over here. And by that I mean you basically take out your binocular, open the hatch, get the binocular, and then you can peek out of the hatch like that. Then you can observe the area and call out targets. And there's one more thing I'd like to add to the end of the video. You may have seen me in the off-road portion of the video that I use the external camera. And my suggestion is to use the internal camera as much as you can. The only reason I use the off-road camera during combat is because currently the periscope mirrors don't work. Other than that, I recommend to always play in first person, because that's the only game where you get that super immersive driving of a BTR-70 in a realistic Cold War setting. And the developers did a great job on the different sounds that support the driving experience. Like you can hear the different grounds, like if you're driving with dirt or grass, how it interacts with the vehicle, and the way the light shines through the hatch like that. And if you're switching to external view like that, then you lose a lot of that, and you also lose the sense of the mass that you're moving. If you're inside the vehicle, you can really feel the acceleration as you're using the pedal. So I highly recommend always play from first person, even if it's harder, except for certain combat situations where you have to peek to spot the enemy for a gunner.